Hello, this is episode 29.5 of the Never Heard of It podcast. I'm Shawn Harwell, and I'm joined today, as always, by...
Craig Moorhead. That's right. Craig Moorhead, co-host of Never Heard of It, the podcast in which we talk about movies. Now, today we're having this is another mini episode of ours.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about stuff you have heard of.
Mm-hmm.
Some interesting stories in the movie sphere, and then we'll talk about box office and make horrible predictions based on absolutely nothing.
You got to get excited for that.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
It is. Craig, I recently watched a movie called In Cold Blood. Have you ever seen In Cold Blood before?
I've never seen it, and I've never read the book.
Well, if you don't know the book that Craig's talking about, it was written by Truman Capote. I would put it in my top 5 books of all time, personally. If you're into procedurals at all, it's the granddaddy of all procedurals. I think it was noted for being one of the first kind of uses of the term, which Capote himself, I think, coined creative nonfiction, or the nonfiction novel. And it tells the story of a pretty horrific and fairly random murder of an entire family in Kansas in 1959. The movie was done in 1967, directed by Richard Brooks, and is kind of notable, I think, at this point mainly because it stars Mr. Beretta, Robert Blake, who himself was convicted of murder. But way before that, they made this movie, and it's out on Criterion. It's a great movie. I really enjoyed it, even having read the book and kind of knowing what to expect. The structure of it is a little different, and I thought really well done. Looks great. Some great black and white cinematography. Really stunning performances by Mr. Blake and Scott Wilson as the other murderer. And one of the things I noticed watching it, I think they had the trailer on the disc, and I know you did check this out because this is kind of an amazing trailer. We'll post this. But in essence, the entire trailer is selling you on the fact that this movie is so authentic, you won't believe it. So authentic, in fact, that they filmed in the actual bus station where Robert Blake got off the bus. The actual killer got off the bus and met the other guy. And they actually filmed in the house where the family was killed. And they actually used 7 of the real 12 jurors from the trial in the movie. I thought that was amazing because, I don't know, Craig, what do you think? I can't imagine this ever happening today.
Now. Oh, no.
A movie like that. I mean, even if they did, it's like, if they went to some of these same locations, they're not going to, the trailer would not, I mean, you would find nothing saying, like, we filmed where these people died. Yeah, it's really crazy.
It's interesting because I feel like, I feel like we are definitely in an age of outrage. And I feel like if you made a movie like that, there would be so much outrage from somewhere that it would just be completely counterproductive to your whole marketing thing. It would just be ghoulish and why would, I don't know. I feel like it would just come off tainted in a weird way. Whereas with In Cold Blood, that just wasn't necessarily something that had ever been done before, I assume.
I guess not. And I think it was such a big case and such a phenomenon, this novel, that this was maybe a logical next step. It's
sure.
Okay, you've read the book, you've seen the news, you know so much about this story at this point. But we're going to recreate it in the house where these people died. And it's easy to look at that as like a really cynical, cold thing to do. Yeah. And yet, I don't know, I thought it was kind of fascinating. And like even in the trailer itself, it describes like this generation of, equally obsessed, entertained, and appalled by violence, And I'm like, well, okay. Maybe that necessarily hasn't changed in 40, 50 years now. But I also was like, okay, when I saw this, I think this was right around the time of the horrible shootings at the Orlando nightclub. and like imagining, and look, 7-8 years from now, somebody might make a movie about that. It would not surprise me at all.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do you think there's any? Okay, here's the thing that I thought was maybe most interesting that we could talk about as like people trying to like create movies. Do you think there's any actual palpable creative value to them going into that place and filming in those places? Just from the sake of of them being on set filming there, do you think they gained any sort of thing, any tangible thing that added to the movie?
I feel like, especially the house where it actually happened, like I don't think there's anything to the bus station. You know, like that, I don't see that doing anything for anybody. I could see like if I was an actor in the movie and I was on board with the idea in the first place, like we're going to go shoot in the house where it happened. First of all, I'd check myself, make sure I'm not actually in the plot of a horror movie. But then as soon as that was cleared up, then I would, I could see that affecting me greatly. For instance, I'll share a little story about my career, Shawn, and we can cut it out later.
Nope.
We were making a show for Discovery, I believe, and it was, as I remember, it was about people who have been injured somehow, and then taking them to the trauma unit, I think in Baltimore, that's very well known in trauma circles, I guess.
I can imagine so, yes.
And yeah, exactly, and just like putting them together, putting people back together again. And so I was called upon to play a police officer who got shot. Naturally, because when you look at me, you think, first of all, police officer, yes. Person of authority. And then, but here's how this relates. My co-stars were the actual cops who were with the guy when he got shot. And I mean, he got very badly messed up and he very nearly died in their hands.
Wow.
And I'm standing up there and like we do this scene of getting shot, 10 or 11 times because they're doing all these moves because there's all this all these sort of CG effects that are going to happen, later.
Did you get squibbed?
I had squibs. Yeah. I had blood shooting out of me.
Awesome.
And I just remember after like take 7 or 8, like I'm standing up there with these guys who are definitely, by the way, who are definitely Baltimore police officers, whereas I am a skinny nerd.
Right.
But they're super nice to me. But like I can feel them getting
reliving this.
Yeah. Like they're just like every time it's like, okay, let's go again. They're like, oh God. And they're just like, I mean, they're seeing their friend just bleed out on this porch. Like, I'm sure they were all thinking like, okay, well, we can do it once, we kind of honor this friend of ours, but because of that, like, it certainly made me take it a lot more seriously. So anyway, the whole point, if I was in the house where those murders happened, that would certainly affect my frame of mind. And it might give me an edge that's useful, and it might, I think it probably gives the audience an edge that's kind of useful if you're really thinking about, wow, this is really the place where it happened.
I think it's an interesting line there because I'm also like thinking in the back of my head, like, okay, yeah, you're the actor, you're in that scene, and that's good. You're literally in this place where this happened, but then you look over and you see a dude sitting on an apple box eating M&Ms or something, and it's like, you can't forget that you're making a movie and you're making commerce out of a tragedy, ultimately, in this case.
Yes.
So, and I think Capote took some flack for that too.
Sure.
And certainly that was addressed in the movie with Philip Seymour Hoffman a little bit. But I don't know.
Was it addressed in the one with Toby Jones?
That's a good question. Infamous? I don't know because I never saw it.
Yeah.
I only had a room in my heart for one Capote movie that year, sadly.
I know, it's tough.
I like Toby Jones. I like Sandra Bullock. It just didn't happen for them that year. They picked a really, really bad time to make their movie.
It was really weird, yeah.
Yeah. But, I don't know. So check that out sometime. I definitely recommend both the book and the movie to you, Craig, and to everyone else. And we'll post that trailer, and you guys can chime in if you have any opinions on it. Man, we should go buy some tickets right now to
Oh,
all
man,
these
yeah.
movies coming out.
I'm laying a lot of heavy bets.
Yeah.
My predictions are rock solid. Now I feel like I have a track record from the last few weeks.
Is it a good track record?
Oh,
pretty good.
let's just leave it at track record.
Okay.
So
Fair
yeah,
enough.
let's get into it. So what do we have opening? Now we're talking about weekend of September 16th. What's
Man,
opening this week?
Well, we're right in the thick of your favorite time of year. You've got 31, the new Rob Zombie movie coming out. It looks like it's going head to head against Blair Witch, this sort of surprise remake.
Interesting.
That's also dropping.
Yes.
I'm wondering if one of those might get pushed a little bit. Bridget Jones' Baby. She's back for more. She's got bigger pants and
she's got a baby.
a baby, for the love of
Apparently.
God.
Right.
And then the new Oliver Stone flicks about Eric Snowden, appropriately titled Snowden, starring our boy Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Indeed.
So, yeah, that's some big stuff. I think in the past we've always bet on horror. What are you thinking this
Yeah.
week? Do you break that trend?
That's a tough one. I mean, so we're in the horror weeks, as you said last week or a couple weeks ago. Kids are back in school. You got a bunch of college kids all together. All they want to do is see people get all cut up and bloody.
Sure.
So, Adam Wingard is the director of Blair Witch. He's made some pretty effective stuff. So that could be an interesting one, because Blair Witch still, I feel like, has a reputation when you bring it up. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. And I don't know. I don't know if people are interested enough about Snowden to turn out in droves.
I don't either.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like a good cast. I mean, it's Oliver Stone. I just don't know if people are going to really turn out unless it really starts getting good notices. Now, Bridget Jones' Diary, that is counter programming.
Yeah, and I don't see anything else around that.
No.
You
I mean,
know,
maybe
that's-
Sully would take some of that.
Maybe
Maybe
yeah.
Sully will be super big from the week before, but personally, I don't see it. So I'm going to say this weekend, I'm going to say Bridget Jones' Baby, if it's not number one, is at least number two. And if it's not number one, I put Sully at number one.
Wow,
And I'm
okay.
saying Blair Witch probably comes in third, Snowden comes fourth. Boom.
Now, are you just completely discrediting the Rob Zombie movie, or do you think that?
Rob Zombie. No.
Yeah,
but
31. That's the name of this movie. I don't know.
I mean,
I can't tell what it's about.
I feel like it's going to be a little lower down. I don't know
Okay.
if you have a theater count for how wide it's going to be, but I feel like it's
don't.
probably not going to be super wide.
He's got
'cause
a
I'm like-
decent. He's got a following as well. You know,
He does.
But that might split some of the box office between that and Blair Witch, maybe.
Maybe, but I feel like Blair Witch is going to be a wide one.
I think so, and
Whereas I think, yeah, if 31 is in major cities, like his folks will go see it and he'll make some money, but I don't think it's going to take a lot away from Blair Witch.
No, and I think you're absolutely right. I think that still has that name recognition, and I mean, man, that movie shook me. That original one. I don't
Yeah.
go to a ton of
Me
horror
too.
movies in the theater, but it definitely worked for me, even with all the hype that was there. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna actually pick that as number one, Craig. I'm gonna go Blair Witch number one.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna come in with Bridget Jones in number two, and then, oh man, I think Snowden's gonna be a little bit further down, but I'll say if 31 is in any sort of decent number count with theaters, I'll put that in at number three for now.
Okay. Not bad.
Very good weekend for scary movies then, if that's the case.
It will be. Yeah, I hope I can actually get out to a theater, which I won't because it never happens. But I'll look forward to them when they're on
Yeah,
Netflix.
we'll look forward to hearing what other people said about them.
Absolutely.
So yeah, come tell us if they were good or terrible, and
Yeah.
we'll enjoy it vicariously through you.
I think so. Hey, you know what? Here's something interesting. I just want to point out about these last 2 weekends, September 9th and September 16th, is we have a bit of a family rivalry going on.
Uh-oh.
And I don't want to make a big deal about it because I'm sure if
Hatfield and McCoys?
no, I'm sure that the Eastwoods would be very embarrassed if I brought this up.
Okay.
And I don't want them to feel embarrassed. I know they're listening. But Sully, the biographical drama that comes out the weekend before, of course, is directed by Clint Eastwood. And the next weekend, Snowden by Oliver Stone, biographical thriller. And in that cast, Scott Eastwood.
Scott Eastwood, his son.
Yeah. So things got to be tense around the Eastwood farm right now.
I think things are always a little tense around the Eastwood farm.
I do kind of imagine it that way too. Yeah.
I think Clint does a ton of relaxing.
You think they just sit and they're just going to sit and squint at each other?
I think they
for
do.
like a couple of weeks, and then
somebody says one or two words,
right?
And then it's another couple weeks.
Yeah.
Potatoes. And it's like, oh, okay, that's settled. They're sometime in the next 3 weeks they will have potatoes for dinner, but then they won't talk to each other again.
No, that's a movie I'd watch. Still watch.
The Eastwood sitcom is coming to Fox in January, so we'll tell you more about that when we get into it.
Yes.
As always, Craig, enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing exactly how wrong we are with this stuff. And
me too.
We'll be back next week with another full one. Man, I mean, the hits just keep coming. We've got Frank and Nick from Podcasting Them Softly, the great podcast, stopping in to talk about the Abel Ferrara flick, Fear City with Tom Berenger.
Yes.
And Billy D. Williams. Like, what else do you need to know? Go watch that. It is online.
Incredible.
It's out there. Yeah, it's a really interesting experience, and we had a great chat with those guys as always.
Yeah, and check out their podcast because they're really up in the ante in terms of the guests they're having over there, and the interviews they're doing are fantastic. So
yeah,
definitely go check it out.
Yeah, Todd Phillips was just on there, which is crazy. Kudos to those guys. And
but then you also have guys like Steve Railsback they just had on.
Yeah, that was a fun listen.
I mean, they're in a lot of different corners of the industry. So man, check it out.
Right, and then they had us on, which is just stupid. So
yeah, that's the bottom of the basement of the industry.
Every 6 good ones, and they got one with us.
They they just phone one in. It's fine.
All right. You know what? I want to give a quick shout out to another podcast as well while I'm thinking of it. Slums of Film History is a really super enjoyable podcast that I'm just got hip to. They break it down into seasons. I think they've done like 8 to 10 episodes a season, and 2 dudes that just kind of pick a topic, and one takes it one time and the other takes it the other time. It's well researched. They write up, stuff about things regarding movie history that don't necessarily get talked about, I think, in polite company is the way they described it. So they have not only one episode, but a 2-parter on bodily fluids in movies. The first one talking about poop and pee, and then you got puke and jizz. Following that up, it's great. There's one about, Satan. There's God, what did they do? Toxicity, like toxic slime and all that kind of stuff from the 80s. Wow. The Toxic Adventure. It's a really fun podcast. Definitely recommend checking that out.
That sounds great. That sounds fantastic.
It's pretty cool. Enjoyed it. But obviously after you've listened to all of our episodes.
Yes. Yeah, not before.
I feel like I shouldn't have to say that, but I did anyway.
No, I think it's important.
All right, so go do that, and we'll be back next time, and we will enjoy it.